Hello and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI Weekly Tournament, Tournament Weekly Broadcast. We're starting off with a recommended game this week with NLPR bot down at the bottom right, up against Willie T in the top left of La Mancha. And as you can tell from the voice, this is Nightcat, and I will be your host for this week's cast. So it looks like we have gas. I don't know if that would necessarily be called a gas first, since a Overlord was built. Now we've got NPLR bot going ahead and scouting, and these bots are both close in ELO currently. I don't know, that was probably still the case at the time that this game happened, so I imagine that we should see a similar level of play from both of these. And with NLPR being down at the bottom right here, I'm going to have to toggle the overlay for this game. Now it looks like we're getting a quick lair off of one base, so we'll probably see, maybe, I don't know if it's going to be Hydralisk into Lurker, or if we're going to see, we're going to see right here what it is. It is indeed a Hydralisk dead. While the Scout is in there, but I think there is a play where you can switch to Mutalisks. Like as a trick, like I think where you get both or one and then switch to the other, but it looks like we are going to see, yep, Lurkers as that's being researched. Meanwhile, Willie T has done a fast expand off of one barracks. So one rack's fast expand, no detection at the moment, but he is aware of the one Hydralisk den, but not necessarily that Lurkers or Lurker aspect is being researched rather. So we are getting a factory now. So it looks like we're going to be transitioning into mech play against the Zerg instead of going with M&M. Meanwhile, the Hydralisks are marching across the army. We do have, or across the map rather. We do have cross spawn here on La Mancha. It's a pretty long distance, and that was not necessarily needed, but the Marines quickly load into the bunker, fire off a few shots. Thankfully for NLPR, the Hydralisk does not lose. Now we do have some Lurkers actually making it up here now. Gonna go ahead and burrow just in range. We are seeing some repair, but the SCVs are taking damage, or at least one was before. But if they're positioned right, they really shouldn't. Oh, and the bunker does fall. I don't see any detection yet, but the Lurkers are gonna have some trouble pushing forward. There's 3 of them there. Taking a shot from the tank, targeting the workers and the command center. These units might actually be just out of range of the Lurkers. Only 2 are in range at the moment. That was actually kind of nice to see, that it was waiting for the tanks to not be able to hit for it to move into better range. Meanwhile, behind this, it looks like NLPR is going ahead and expanding and getting a macro hatch as well. So going ahead to increase its production capabilities while going to expand its economy. Now Willie T is repairing and keeping the command center alive, which is working sort of as a delaying tactic, but all of its money is being sunk into this, and we don't see any detection being worked on. So I mean, it's great that it's keeping the command center alive and delaying the Lurkers, but at the same time you're not getting anything to counter the Lurkers. I mean, I guess if you have a larger army, you can keep the Lurkers from moving forward because you'll possibly be able to pick them off, maybe even if just one at a time. But in theory, more could be coming. But NLPR is going ahead and expanding again. I keep wanting to say NPR for National Public Radio instead of NLPR. Meanwhile, here we're just getting more of the same. So Willie T is getting some money. Did get a engineering bay at this point, so we could see maybe a turret come down somewhere. It looks like it's trying to build something here. I don't know what it is that it is trying to build. We do have a couple Goliaths taking some shots at the Overlords. Meanwhile, behind this, we've got more Hydralisks, just a few more. But Willie T really being kept here. Now, it is trying to get a comsat. It does have one here. Okay, there's the scan. but losing a little bit of time because the tanks weren't sieged. However, it looks like being able to put some hurt with at least one volley of shots on the lurkers. But really would have been nice to see that be a little bit more better coordinated, where the siege would have happened first and then a scan. But this is really delaying any kind of push. And LPR, meanwhile, taking a 4th base now. Just sitting back, happy to expand and play rather passively, really. Other than the 2 lurkers that are just wreaking havoc here and constantly destroying or forcing a cancel of this comms out. I'm not quite sure which it is, but it's a bit entertaining there. It's probably something along the lines of like a hard set rule of get this comms at now, and it's just going to keep happening. Unfortunate Marine walking into the spines of the lurkers. Up and another scan and late, but they're going to get 1 volley off and 1 lurker. Okay, they got 2 volleys off, so both of the lurkers were able to be taken care of there. Now that Willie T is free and has defeated that wave, it looks like we're getting a smaller Zerg army moving forward, but realistically, Willie T has a large enough army that should be able to easily handle what Zerg has right now. So getting an assessment of how much NLPR has expanded, what all has been going on in the map while it's been contained with its vultures. Yep, nice little mine there, taking out 1 Hydralisk. But meanwhile, we've got an army of Hydralisks trying to move in. Kind of just sitting in range of the tanks, not what you want to see. These tanks just getting some free kills here. 6 kills, 5 kills. Very unfortunate. Meanwhile, lost a good chunk of the army there for absolutely nothing. But we do have another expansion coming up in the top right here for its 5th base. And Willie T is going to go ahead and sit back and just sort of stabilize here, I think. Let's see, what are we getting? We're getting another couple of factories, not hatcheries. So going to go up to 4 now, it looks like. And then perhaps we'll see a push shortly after those finish. We're also getting some upgrades, some vehicle plating. Wouldn't be surprised, whoops, if the weapons are upgraded at least to level 1 right now. So we are seeing, I don't think have there been any, nope, no infantry upgrades, which makes sense because it stopped with the infantry. Though we still have the bunker sitting here. And we also have a forward-facing turret to help in case there's any more lurkers to try and push into this natural here. Now we do have NLPR is ahead in worker count, but is behind in supply, which is, I don't think typically you want to be behind in supply in this type of scenario, but Willie T is still sitting pretty passively, is trying to go for a 3rd though, and LPR is going to go ahead and try to deny this here. Willie T not, it looks like is sort of able, but maybe the tanks are stuck. I'm not sure, they're just repositioning up here. Meanwhile, the attempted 3rd has been taken out. So I'm not sure if that was just the army being hesitant and not actually wanting to move out to defend the 3rd, or if there was maybe some positioning issues there. Kind of hard to tell. Now, we did have a scan go off somewhere. A new 3rd is being plopped up here. Meanwhile, NLPR is taking a 6th and a 7th base, I believe that is. Gonna go ahead, though, and attack the 4th here. I don't know if it's aware of the other bases in the corner, but gonna go ahead and easily handle this. It looks like an LPR does not have much of an army. 55 of that supply is in drones, so the tank should be able to chew up a good bit. Now these 2 tanks left unguarded are gonna have a bit of a problem, but anything trying to come up this bridge is just going to be stopped here by these Goliaths. There was a small army that was advancing up there. But now we're gonna go ahead and pull back, perhaps. Now there is a nice defense here. There is an attempt of a counter, but I don't think it's going to be able to break through. Might be able to do a tiny bit of damage though. And that might actually be what's pulling the Willie T army back. But now it's going to go ahead and get sandwiched. But it is going to switch and go after the undefended 3rd, which is actually a good move to see. If they will move in. There we go. They're actually moving in now. So we should see this third take some damage, but the army is coming up to actually save it this time. So gonna go ahead and retreat across the... or not retreat across the bridge, and just go ahead and take damage and lose units unnecessarily again. Meanwhile, Willie T's army is moving down here to the south, where they're going to go ahead and take out this expansion. So this is going to be a little bit of a game of whack-a-mole for the Terran, where the Zerg has kind of expanded across all of the map, just about, that's available to it, while the Terran was contained. Now the Terran's just going to have to smack down bases one at a time, while NLPR is free to re-expand to old bases if it so chooses, but it looks like it's not choosing to. Does have quite a buildup of minerals and not of gas. So just taking a look at the minimap here, it looks like it only got 2, maybe 3 gases. Yeah, it's not. That's an empty gas. That's an empty gas. Empty gas. That base just got destroyed, but I believe that was an empty gas. So yeah, it looks like it only got 3 geysers, when really it should have invested in some more, especially as Zerg. If you're doing anything other than Zerglings, you're gonna need gas. Zerg is very gas heavy. With a nice tank blast there, taking out just a group of Zerglings, or drones rather. 17 kill tank. Didn't get to see retirement, probably was 1 day away from it, and got taken out, but hey, he did his job and he did it well. So now we've got a little bit of an army massing here. Meanwhile, Willie T's massive tank army is just going on a rampage here. Looks like they took out an attempt at an expansion here, and now are going to clean up this geyser that was retaken by the Zerg, but gonna go ahead and just siege up the tanks and take that out. Meanwhile, the third for Willie T was taken out as the Terran army was distracted down in the south. And so actually managing to push forward as the bulk of the army is not in place to defend this, but I don't think, actually, the way it is right now, could probably march in and deal some damage to the natural of Willie T. And now Willie T is going to go ahead and re-expand over here to where the Zerg just was. Meanwhile, its army down in the south seems to be a little bit confused in what it's doing. Now with 2 tanks here, I think they're going to be able to defend this. That army's just not quite large enough. Again, NLPR, up there we go, there was a nice, like, about 1,000 minerals that just got spent, and 24 Zerglings are being spawned, so, actually, I think that's gonna be 48, if I'm not mistaken, because I think that just counts 1 per egg, so that's gonna be quite the round of Zerglings to spawn, as well as some, all of them just hatched there, so now we've got a large Zergling, but still so many tanks. The Zerglings are trying to get in there to deal some damage. Let's see what their upgrades look like if we can catch one. I think they're 1-2 actually. So they do have some upgrades, but the tanks just... the Zerglings just struggling to get in there. The tanks, meanwhile, are still just at 1-1. And knocking on the door of this natural here. Just the Zerg slaughter that happened there was pretty intense. Now the Hydralisks are trying to do something, but Hydralisks alone are not really going to be able to do much. I was expecting to see some more... oh, these 2 tanks got kind of cut off. Well, not cut off, but left behind by the group during the retreat. Willie T is struggling, I think, for minerals right now. Did finally get the third up. Needs to keep that alive. Does have a decent tank army back here at the natural. But really, the bulk of that army should probably be defending this third here. As that's what NLPR seems to be marching towards, ignoring these tanks and just, again, suffering a lot of losses that don't need to be lost. Those Hydralisks could have easily cleared out the tanks here, but instead just threw away half of its army. Now we are seeing Mutalisks and a Greater Spire, so we're seeing a transition to some air, but Willie T does have Goliaths, though not with every pack of its army. LPR trying to expand up here at Willie T's old third, but gonna go ahead and lose that. And we have ghosts, but I don't think we have any nuclear silos, so I don't think we'll see any nukes. So the ghosts, I'm not really sure what they're gonna accomplish. Since Zerg doesn't have any mechanical units that can be locked down, Yep, and Overlord gets done there. Now I guess they can cloak the ghost, so you can have that advantage. Meanwhile, a large army is advancing down the middle towards what I imagine is the natural of an LPR, but this army is going to hit this third. If Willie T loses this third, that's his income, essentially. But he is establishing a fourth base up here, which could replace the third. But missing those macro rounds could hurt. So there is a deployment of tanks coming here. But now the Hydralisks are just moving next to the tanks, saying hi, please shoot us. We won't really shoot you too much. Which is just unfortunate behavior to see. Gonna go ahead and pick off a few Overlords here. Or, oh, that one just barely survives. Now we do have a Guardian out in play, which is pretty cool to see when we have a couple more spawning in. Or morphing in, I guess. So we'll see if they're able to do anything. Now we're coming down instead of the natural to this expansion at the bottom left natural. The tanks are going to go ahead and clear that out. Now this is a very large number of tanks. If an LPR were to do something like pull a switch fully into Mutalisks instead of going for this sort of Hydralisk with a couple Mutalisk play, we would probably see some trouble for Willie T, because he really doesn't have the economy at the moment to transition to a more Goliath-heavy army. But I don't think we're going to end up seeing that here. And the attempt to defend this natural is just getting destroyed. The Hydralisks are just kind of slithering, I guess is how they move to their death here. So that's one natural down. The game of whack-a-mole with the Zerg continues, but Willie T has stabilized his economy and has actually now created a surplus, as he's getting at least one more refinery. Could be with fourth one. I'm sure the other two refineries are more than likely out of gas. Now, army pulling back again, not quite sure why, but leaving a small deployment here to take this out. But now we've got the Ultralisks coming in, which are fully upgraded, 3 and 5. More than likely, from how fast they're moving, they probably have the speed upgrade as well, so an LPR able to keep this bottom mid alive. Looks like Willie T deciding to go across the map and attack the other natural here, after taking this natural out. But it does have, pardon me, a few vultures here that are causing a little bit of trouble, so I can see why an LPR threw its Ultralisks down there, but this base quickly cleaned up by Willie T. And then instead of marching up to that top right there, it looks like we're going to just go ahead and pick a whole new target and head towards that. Meanwhile, though, we're going to have a little bit of an engagement here. Hydralisks backing off from a small contingent of tanks there. We've got a bit of an army here in the middle. For an LPR, going to head and zoom out just a little bit more, as we do have, and unfortunately the replay file right about here breaks in remaster, so we'll go ahead and finish this game up in OpenBW, where we just lost the natural top right up here, and it looks like Willie T is trying to take it back with an SCV, but can't build on creep as Terrans, so that's not going to go over well. Meanwhile, we do have some a splattering of engagements here in the middle of the map. These Hydralisks coming into tank fire and just melting. And let's see, wherever this tank is going is probably where Willie T wants to target next, but the tank army just sieging and unsieging here as things come in and into range and melt, and then are no longer in range. Actually, I'm not sure where Willie T's army is targeting. Oh, okay, we found the expansion up here. So now we are going ahead and marching up into the top right. It's gonna go ahead and clean that up. A lot of sunkens here, which will defend these drones freaking out, probably because of the vultures. But now we've got Ultralisks and Guardians that are being left behind because they are so slow. Oh, so ever slow. Another drone coming out, probably to maybe to make an expansion, or maybe just being assigned to another base. Meanwhile, I missed this here. Hold on. Since we are in open BW, let's see if I can catch the fight. If we just back up a little bit. So this is right when this base got destroyed. Might have gone back a little bit too far, so we will speed this up. It's like I missed. Because it's hard to see. Oh, here we go. Yep, this little army sneaks in here. So this is just before I rewound it here. He's going to go ahead and take this natural out while Willie T's army is coming back from that top right expedition. But really losing this natural is not going to be a big deal, though it did lose the base down here, which NPLR is now going to take. Or NLPR, sorry. But now with Ultralisks in the main, that's not good. So fully upgraded Ultralisks just dealing damage, able to get through the third base, then the natural, and then into the main, which just was completely not guarded. Willie T down to one mining base, but could still potentially pull this off, but no Goliaths and really short on gas, which because it never got the refinery up here, right now it's not mining any gas. Except for from this depleted geyser. So this could be big trouble for Willie T here if he doesn't go ahead and get another refinery. I was thinking that this game was looking really good for Willie T, but right now he's in quite the spot of trouble. Really needs to... Oh, okay. I'm backing off there. That SCV almost squeaked through. I think it's trying to build the refinery with SCVs from the main for some reason, instead of just pulling one... from the natural, and then pulling an SCV down here and going, oh wait, you've expanded here. I can't take that. Now, thankfully for Willie T, there are a couple of turrets here which are going to help with the lack of Goliaths due to the gas shortage that it's dealing with, but it is slowly pumping out Goliaths, but it really needs to try and protect them. So you might be able to hold out here for a little bit. Yeah, Willie T with the, I think with the upgrades, has really turned this around. You check out the upgrades, yeah. So Willie T did go to 2-2 on the vehicles, or on its mech army at some point, but just the armor, the Ultralisks, the 3-3. I don't see air upgrades though. Willie T is slowly able to push this out now as he's got... Oh, but he just lost all of the Goliaths there except for, like, one Goliath that had just came out new. So now all these Mutalisks are going to just be free reign on it. The third is now taken out. Willie T was trying to push out to save that third, but just not able to do so. Only working off of one Vespene Geyser that's depleted. And now the Mutalisks are just going to clean up the tanks. And then once that's done, the Hydralisks are free to just march in here. The army can come in and just take out one at once. Very well played game by both of these bots. A very back and forth game. The original containment, and then Willie T, once it was able to smash through that, taking out a lot of bases, but NLPR just able to win it in the end. I think with the upgrades and the persistence, and Willie T's army being out of position, very good game from both of these. Willie T still has something alive. Oh, this refinery, and that will be the game. And with that, we're out of games that were recommended this week, and Willie T was actually one of the bots that had received updates this week. So we'll go ahead and jump into a Crona versus Banana Brain game, which are the same bot but playing different races. So I figured we could kill essentially two birds with one stone, as it were, by getting them both in the same game, since there happened to be one available to us. So we've got this on destination here, Crona the Green Zerg up at the top, and Banana Brain down at the bottom. And actually, something as a bot author myself, I always had fun watching my bot play itself with different races, because my bot can do both Terran and Protoss, though only the Terran is currently playing on the SSCAIT ladder. As one of the rules for the tournament that happens yearly, you're only allowed to have one bot entered. So if your bot plays multiple races, you kind of have to choose which one you want to be available, which is something that Banana Brain will have to do come the next tournament. He'll have to choose if he wants his Zerg to play or if they want their Protoss to play in the tournament. Now we do have the scouting probe here, getting into the action of this game, that is looking around, and we do have a hatchery and a spawning pool going down. And now the Zerglings will spawn and try to push this probe out. Meanwhile, we have a fast expand with a cannon, a gateway, and a nexus coming down. Now the gas, so that way the cybernetics core can be started. We're going ahead and taking a greedy third here, but that probably will pay off, especially with what Banana Brain is doing here. Not going to be able to be aggressive for a bit, so should have time to get it out. Running in and took out the cannon that finished, but then the second cannon was able to clean it up, and now another cannon going down to replace the one that was destroyed. So I thought that was maybe going to be a run by. Given that only one cannon had finished, that could have very easily been a run by there and done some damage to the drones in the main, or probes in the main, or at least delayed some mining, but instead went for the cannons, and so Banana Brain ends up being okay. The Zealot's taking quite the forward position here at one of the bridges, leaving the other one completely open. But doesn't have too much to worry about with two cannons there. Gonna take a larger force to run through, and Crona right now is not working on that. Instead, we're seeing a Spire come down along with another hatchery. So getting a macro hatchery here. Meanwhile, the third hatchery is complete, and we have one drone and maybe another drone here. Yep, coming up for it. So gonna go ahead and get that economy rolling. Good save play, but with zero army, well, not zero army, there are some Zerglings here that I missed. Should be able to be okay with this. Gonna have a little bit of a skirmish here. The Protoss army getting a little bit split up, but it is well enough that it should be able to handle the amount of Zerglings that are here. Gonna go ahead and get a few shots off on the drones. Gonna go ahead and scare them back up. Managed to trap at least one. Gonna chase, got a second one there. So gonna go ahead and pop some more Zerglings. The first Mutalisk is underway, so gonna take a heavy hit here. The Corsair is out. Gonna go ahead and harass those Overlords. The escape route of the Zealots kind of getting cut off here, but still able to take some out. Meanwhile, a third is started in the bottom left there for Banana Brain. The Mutalisk is out though. Gonna go ahead and engage with the Corsair. Should be able to keep the Overlords alive. Did lose one though, as there is a second Corsair out on the field, but more Mutalisks are underway, and the supply usage is really low right now with having lost those drones. We're gonna go ahead and push the Zealots back though. A couple of Zealots, they sneakily hid over here, and now they're gonna go ahead and sneak back in, but they're a little bit frightened because there are Mutalisks there, which would be able to hit them, and they would not be able to stab up at them. But this, and speed this up a little bit now. The Mutalisk's able to handle the Corsairs. Corsairs got a little bit split up. Meanwhile, these two Zealots have been chased all the way back. Another Corsair trying to do what it can, but one Corsair by itself not going to be able to handle these Mutalisks. And these Zealots are forced to retreat, but they're going to actually end up sandwiching these Zerglings here, get a couple of free shots, maybe take a few of them, but now the Mutalisk Cloud is going to come and help out the Zerglings. But still, the Zerglings just kind of running around. They're trying to retreat, but not really able to. Looks like Overlord speed finished, so that Overlord doing a little bit of running away, but probably going to get lost. Got to rebuild those drones, though. The economy took a pretty large hit there in that Zealot rush from Banana Brain, but now Banana Brain knows that this expansion's here because that Corsair had been trapped up in that corner and taken out. Gonna go ahead and march the Zealots up there while the Mutalisks are distracted by the Corsairs here. Probably gonna be able to take this out. unless the Mulisks are able to get back there and defend it. But now we do have Dragoons entering the army. Meanwhile, a fourth now going down for Banana Brain in the main, still pumping out Corsairs. Looks like we're starting to get Dark Templar as well now. So gonna go ahead and try and, looks like we'll use the Corsairs to take out any detection, but Crona able to save this top right. Indecisiveness by the Zealots costing Banana Brain quite a bit there. Really, if Banana Brain wanted to, he could have just committed to attacking the hatchery that's up there to take it out, but instead kind of tried to do this retreat, which just cost a lot of Zealot lives. Whoops, did not mean to zoom down there. Bottom right, but now there is a Dark Templar in play. Gonna go ahead and just squeak past the Mutalisks and head up to this top right base to cause some problems. Again, going for the drones. So important to keep your drones alive as Zerg. It just takes larva, which is another resource you have to manage to rebuild them. Your economy as Zerg is so fragile. Doing some hits here. I think it was going after the egg instead of the... Or no, it was going after the hatchery. Okay, that hatchery is going to fall. So now Crona down to just the 3 bases. Meanwhile, in the middle, though, this Mutalisk cloud is growing and taking out the Corsairs one at a time. Could deal some damage to the expansions here. Not so sure it's going to be dealing a lot of damage into this natural, but trying to push into it. Takes out another Corsair. There is a second Stargate now for the Protoss. Going to try and focus on the cannons and the probes. Being a little bit indecisive here, maybe costing some units that it really needs to keep alive. Gonna go ahead and pull out. Took out some workers, but it's just not going to deal anywhere near as much damage as losing those drones did. Meanwhile, there's Dark Templar and 3 Dragoons here doing some damage, taking out this natural, bringing the Zerg down to 2 bases, but really, that's not too much of a problem for the Zerg because the drone count that he has not going to support the 3 bases too well. Trying to pull in the drones back into the gas. Dark Templar just butchering the larva here. Now going after the hatchery. Banana Brain able to come back with its full army now. Marching into the natural. The natural falls, moving up into the main. Still has a decent sized Mutalisk cloud here, but with the Dragoon support and the Corsair, just not going to be able to take this out. Meanwhile, the Zealots are able to just slash away at the building. 7 drones left for Crona, not looking too good. Good game by both of them here, but it looks like a bad decision by the Zerg to go into the natural instead of after the expansions. But then again, even if you go after the expansions, you're probably not going to have a good time when that army comes and counterattacks you. So either way, Crona might not have had a real good play there. Corsairs mopping up the Overlords. Now the Zealot army comes in. Drones try and do something, but can't really. And at this point, it's just clean up for Banana Brain, and Crona goes ahead and taps out. And for our last updated bot this week, we have HowPond spawning in the bottom right here of La Mancha as the orange Terran, going up against the white spawned Zerg, Purple Swarm. So again, we're on La Mancha, and again we have Cross, and looks like HowPond is going for a proxy barracks on a 4-player map. A bit of a large 4-player map, so it's quite the move here. Meanwhile, that barracks is pretty far back as well, just from most of the starting positions, especially the cross position, which is where Purple Swarm happens to be. So we'll see how this plays out for HowPond. Might not have been the best decision to try it, but it's going to go ahead and try it, so we'll see what happens. Also scouting the wrong bases. Now, something that I've noticed here is that this SCV, which finished the barracks, went and scouted the top right here. This SCV that was initially sent out for scouting, also scouting the top right. Could have been more effective by sending this over to the top left. But now Purple Swarm seeing this SCV that just came out here and stopped. All of the SCVs stopped. There. Waiting for something. Don't know what though. Go ahead and speed this up just a little bit. Oh, okay. They were waiting for, I guess, the 3rd SCV to come up. Now, Purple Swarm is assuming it looks like that HowPond is in that top right. Meanwhile, behind this, getting a bunker to defend because it does see the Zerglings, so he's going to go ahead and retreat. And I like he lifts the barracks and just realizes, nope, this is not going to work. Let's go ahead and fall back. So that is awesome to see that the game is not just going to be lost due to the missed scouting. Now 1, 2, 3, go into the bunker. Very well placed bunker, going to be able to defend a lot there. Meanwhile, the Zerglings chase down that SCV. Now the Zerglings, Purple Swarm still doesn't know exactly where he is, but now he does because he knows it's not the top right, not the bottom left. It's got to be this bottom right base here. So I'm going to go ahead and see the bunker, maybe not take out that SCV. Knows that it can't quite get in there with the bunker, but meanwhile behind this it is going for a one-hatch lurker play, which is something that I've noticed we've been seeing a lot more out of the Zergs on the ladder, so that might be something that Terran bots want to take into consideration for when it's tournament time this year, that might be a play that they're seeing a bit more frequently. Now this will be a problem as we're getting a factory and another supply depot. There's 0 detection for HowPond. So once that lurker is done, that will probably be the game unless it manages to miss micro. Now it is going to have a little bit of a trickiness here because of the bunker, but once it's burrowed, it's free to just smack that bunker. And yeah, that's just not gonna go very well. Losing the bunker, now the Marines panicking, running back, lurkers having their way. No detection at all, no mines, just, it's going to be a slaughter here. It's like he is trying to get an engineering bay now though, but just all of the SCVs are gone. More lurkers coming in, more Hydralisks coming in. Meanwhile, an expansion has been taken, the engineering bay lifts off, and then the command center lifts off. Don't know exactly where they're going, but that is a bit amusing to see. So it looks like maybe with the proxy play, the scouting was off because it never actually got to scout the main of Purple Swarm, so it did not see the one hatchery play coming. And then the proxy may have thrown off the timing for detection as well as not getting that scouting information. However, this floating building play is a little bit silly. We do have Mutalisks in play though, so they should be able to find the buildings and take it out. I like just how they're moving. I wonder what the logic behind where they move to is. Now the Mutalisks are in, there's a couple Hydralisks, so buildings will quickly fall and the game will go for Purple Swarm, perhaps. Although that engineering bay, whoever is flying it, is trying to stay alive as much as possible. Perhaps going to stay alive until it burns down, as the Mutalisks are trying to hunt down where HowPond might have a base. I would laugh if it lands, but it's just going to stay floated until it burns down, probably. That might get found now as the Mutalisks close in to give the final blow here. Just gonna watch this engineering base slowly burning down. The Mutalisks find it, and it's gone. Well played by Purple Swarm. And since we are out of bots with updates for this week, we'll go ahead and start with our randomly selected games here. We have, for this one, TSC Emu spawning as the yellow Terran on the right of Moonglaive, going up against Simplicity on the left of Moonglaive. So, looks like we are getting a safe one base play from TSC Emu. Meanwhile, we got I believe that was a 9 pull from Simplicity. And get the second and get ready. Up, and there's a hatchery. Now, not going to see a large number of Zerglings pop out because the minerals were spent on the hatchery instead of the Zerglings. which realistically probably could have gone hatchery first in that case. But now that these Zerglings are out, going to go ahead and scout the map, pull back the scouting drone. TSC Emu sending out its scouting SCV, gonna be met with the Zergling army, and deciding to just back off and go to the other starting location. But gonna be able to handle the Zerglings here pretty well, I think. Nice worker movement there, getting the workers in between the Marines and the Zerglings so that way they can deal less damage while the Marines are free to just shoot at the Zerglings. Gonna go ahead and back that off after cutting that force down in about half. So now we are getting a lair from the Zerg. So we're gonna see a 2-hatch tech play here. Don't know if it's going to be lurkers or mutalisks. You tend to see lurkers more in bot play just because they are a little bit easier to use properly than mutalisks are. In terms of the difficulty with mutalisks, it tends to be more so with choosing the angles of attack, finding the holes that you can exploit. Every map is different as well, so the angles that you can really take advantage of tend to be harder to more generically code. Now, TSC Emu is deciding to guard the bottom of this ramp, which is probably not the best place to guard, but it will be a choke point against Zerglings, so should be alright. Scouting SCV finally getting picked off, and we do have a Spire coming down, so this will be 2 hatchery mutalisk play. Meanwhile, TSC Emu is now getting its natural, got the 3 factories rather, has mines, getting vulture speed, so gonna be able to do some harassment, but there is this forward sitting sunken colony that should be able to protect at least the natural, although a run by with enough vultures could cause some havoc in the main. The Spire is done. Mutalisks are now underway, and the engineering bay is gonna finish as the Mutalisks are now out. So TSC Emu getting that engineering bay just in time to get down some turrets if it needs to. Not quite sure what the Mutalisks are doing here, as some vultures go by there on the right. Looks like they're maybe taking a very long way around to... Meanwhile, the vultures here, I'm not sure what they're trying to do either, but nice gridded minefield there. Looks like the vulture, or what the Mutalisks are doing is what I thought they might have been doing, which is going the very long way around to hit this natural from above, but going to be met with a turret. 2 turrets, actually. I think that second one just finished not long before they got there. Going to have to back out very quickly. Good that they didn't dive into the main because there's a turret there as well. Would not have gone very well because they would have then been trapped. The Goliaths could have marched up into the main. Gonna go ahead and handle the vultures that are just kind of dancing around on the outside with the Mutalisks. Vulture getting shot off in a kill there on the Zergling. More mines being planted here. This is a very dangerous location to try and pass for any Zerg unit. Meanwhile, not sure why this army is moving up here. I guess they're going after this Overlord, which is just like kind of on patrol here. And speed just finished, so the Overlord is able to get out of there and not take any damage. Now a nice little vulture line here, doing a little bit of a containment. Simplicity just kind of seems not sure exactly what to get here. Gonna go ahead and get the Queen's Nest for a hive, but on 2 bases that's going to be very tough to support, especially when you're not mining from one of your gases. But right now, Simplicity really needing the minerals. Gonna go ahead and try to break this contain, but now with a tank there, and vultures just eat up Zerglings. And then the tank's going to be able to support against the Hydralisks. Looks like that was just, if that had come a little bit sooner for Simplicity, that might have been able to push that back, but with the tank support, it's not a good unit combination. I'm not even sure what happened to the Mutalisks. They just kind of disappeared. Oh, they're up here harassing the 3rd. Okay. So they are doing something for Simplicity, but they're not going to be able to crack that natural as they're going to try again. They are going to take out the turrets, though, it looks like, or at least one of them, but then, yeah, that's just going to fly over the enemy while the rest retreat upward, but now there's only 3 there. Meanwhile, the natural is under siege from this small force from TSC Emu. Which is probably, yeah, gonna slowly whittle away these Sunkens, which is just draining the drone count. Which is leaving Simplicity with no economy. This is just not gonna go too well. Yeah, now TSC Emu overrunning the natural. Simplicity just not having the economy. TSC Emu taking over the map. Got a fourth, getting a fifth now. There's a mine freaking out somewhere. Oh, right there. What? There's multiple mines there. Okay. Well, there we go. Mine was able to resolve itself once the spore colony was destroyed. Just a little bit of silly brood warness there happening. Up and more. Up and okay. Those vultures blew up from their own mines. Mines taking out larvae. Oh man, it's just a Zerg massacre here, but fun little game from both of these. But Simplicity showed some promise there, but just not able to capitalize in the end with the two hatch muta play. Good game there from TSC Emu to bring it home. And for our last game for today, we have MadMoxxi spawning as the White Terran in the top left, up against a returning bot from earlier today, Banana Brain, spawning as the purple Protoss on the bottom right of a map that I'm actually not very familiar with, Overwatch. This game was chosen off of the Basil ladder, which utilizes the bots off of the SSCAIT ladder. So I'll go ahead and sometimes we cast games from it. We do accept recommended games from it as well. So I'm not very familiar with this map. It appears to be a two-player map from what I can see with cross spawns. So looks like we are getting a barracks all the way up here in the top left corner, which is not very good positioning against Protoss, but it's doing what it's doing. Gonna go ahead and get the gas as well, and then the scouting probe from Banana Brain. Gonna go ahead and check out what's going on. Meanwhile, the gas is here, should be a cyber core, yep, which it is. Blocking the ramp, so we might see some Dark Templar play or something that kind of relies on denying scouts. So fortunately with this map, I do have to remove the overlay anytime I look into Banana Brain's base, so I apologize if at any point I forget to do so. So now we do have a Zealot along with the two probes here guarding the ramp, and the scout returning home. So now we do have a Citadel of Doom, so it looks like we are going to get the Dark Templar action that we may have been expecting. And we're getting two factories here. Yep, and now we have a Dragoon, so we go ahead and try to scout again, apparently with a Marine here. Now that the factory is done, we are keeping two Marines at home here. So going to go ahead and get the machine shop. Could get mines in time, potentially. No, the Templar Archives is being built, and we are getting two bunkers, one by the command center and one down by the ramp here. So interesting choice that it's getting two. But the Templar Archives is just about to finish and warp in here, so now that it's done, the Dark Templar are going to start. Let's see, I'm not seeing anything being researched from the machine shop, so might be in some trouble here. As the Dark Templar are out on the field now, I'm going to come across the map here. And with no mines, it's not going to be very good story here for MadMoxxi. We'll see how it reacts to the Dark Templar here in its base now. It knows that it needs detection. We're getting another factory here, it looks like, maybe. The production tab may have glitched out a little bit for Willie T. But now the Dark Templar just going to town on the gas SCVs. Now the mining SCVs, Willie T not able to do anything, getting a starport of all things. Yeah, unfortunately, not getting any detection. Doesn't seem to be reacting to the fact that there is a Dark Templar having its way with the SCVs. 13, 14 kills. Gonna get the starport, but just not gonna have any money. Gets a Goliath. Yeah, no engineering bay, nothing else. Meanwhile, Banana Brain has gone and expanded behind this, has the natural, now saturating it with probes. Moving more army up, allowing the Dark Templar here, a 3 kill and a 23 kill Dark Templar, taking out the command center, now moving in with the rest of the army. Just Willie T not going to be able to do anything here. It was a good play here by Banana Brain, going with the Dark Templar. MadMoxxi just not getting any detection, not knowing that the Dark Templar were coming, and then when it did see the Dark Templar in the base, not doing anything to defend against that. As a Terran, some things that you can do, if you get surprised by Dark Templar, you can get mines, because Spider Mines will react to undetected cloaked units, although that's not the easiest thing to fight Dark Templar off with. But go ahead and hide the production tab here for the end of this. And as the Terran structures are getting raised here, I'd just like to thank you for tuning in and watching. We appreciate your support, as always. And we hope you have a good day and a good week and join us next week. Until then, farewell.